And hi, everybody. I'm meteorologist Sean Sublett from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. We've been following the intense thunderstorms across central Virginia for the better part of the last couple of hours or so. And what you see there is the last 1 hour's worth of radar imagery kind of focused on Richmond and immediately to the west. The lightning becomes very, very obvious as we watch these cells very slowly drift across central Virginia. Even though there's going to be a little bit of a lull, you might see it already through western Chesterfield County. There is a lot more rain coming from Amelia, Nottoway, Cumberland, Goochland. That's all coming in over the next, let's say, 30 to 60 minutes or so. So even if you've got a lull from where you're watching from, there is more coming in this next hour, hour and a half. So be mindful of that. There's already a flash flood warning in effect for the city as well as for Chesterfield County until 8 o'clock this evening. Let's go through some of the areas right now specifically and kind of hone in on what we're looking at and what we're dealing with. As we go closer into Richmond, you see the phenomenal amount of lightning that's kind of raced across South Richmond, now toward Mechanicsville, heading over to Hanover and King William County. So through western Chesterfield from Midlothian, extending down toward Patoka, there is a little bit of a lull for the time being. But this is what we're concerned about in the next half hour, 60 minutes or so, as we go out 360 to Amelia, and then we go down to Nottoway. All that you see in the oranges and the reds, that's the very heavy rain that is on the way to the Appomattox River and ultimately across into Chesterfield County. And this extends out Route 60 to Cumberland County as well. And even farther north, we're going up to Fluvanna, Louisa, Fork Union, Monticello, and almost all the way up to Charlottesville. So we've already had about an inch or two of rain through a lot of the areas of the city of Richmond and then farther to the west. In fact, looking at some of the radar summary through that part of the metro area does suggest that right along Hull Street Road 360 from about the city limits to about Brandon Mill, that there's already been about 2 to 2.5 inches of rain in the last 60 to 90 minutes or so, certainly enough to cause the flooding that we're already seeing. There's already a lot of standing water on Poway Parkway. There's standing water near 288 as well. Just kind of watching some of the messages coming in right now. And we don't see this really letting off for good for another few hours or so. So let's go to the next thing and see what else is going on the wider scale. You see that most of the state right now really is dealing with some rain. Some very intense thunderstorms at that. This extends all the way back to Amherst County, Roanoke, down to Martinsville. And you look at this over the last hour, the big concern is that everything is moving very, very slowly. And that's why there is to continue the concern for flash flooding, not just for the next half hour or hour, but well into 8, perhaps 9 or 10 o'clock this evening, before everything really begins to tone down. So even though there might be a little bit of a break in your backyard right now, wherever you're streaming us from, we do expect more rain as the evening goes on. Some very intense, slow-moving rain, which will lead to flash flooding. As we oftentimes tell you, don't drive into areas where water covers the road, because when the water covers the road, you really can't see if the road is still there. And that's the big problem right now, as well as hydroplaning, even where the road is there. So these are the things to be concerned about. We don't have the kind of flooding issues like they have in the mountains, where most people are going to be dealing with flooded homes. But if you do live near a stream or a creek or a housing development, apartment complex that is near what's normally a quietly running, babbling brook or stream, keep an eye on that and be ready to move to higher ground or evacuate it if that water comes up. Because even if the rain has stopped where you are right now, the rain is going to pick back up, and it is going to be several hours before the true flooding threat does go away for the night. So that's what we're really most concerned about here in the coming few hours or so. Now, just to recap, all of Central Virginia is under a flash flood watch until midnight. That was the difference between the watch and the warning. So again, there's a warning for Richmond and a warning for Chesterfield County, which means we've already got the flooding going on. No surprise there. But this also tells us that areas all the way to Tappahannock, the Middle Peninsula, northern neck to the Chesapeake, and then westward toward Goochland, toward Amelia, toward Powhatan County, Cumberland County. Those are areas that are still under the threat of additional flash flooding until about midnight. So that's why all these areas here you see shaded in green, extending down toward Petersburg, Technically, Petersburg's not in this, but it's close enough. Everybody in the metro area should be mindful for the threat of flash flooding, small streams and creeks coming out of their banks, water in poor drainage areas, and that kind of thing over these next several hours. That's really the biggest concern. There have been a couple of trees down, to be sure. Sims Avenue in South Richmond, it's got a couple of trees down. So there is some minor tree damage out there, some minor wind damage. But really the flooding is what we think is most critical here between now, which is 5:36, and later on into the evening. In terms of the active warnings, these don't show up quite as well, but you kind of see this area that is encircled in green. That's the area that's technically under the flood warning until 8 o'clock. But do not expect the threat for flooding to really end until well after that. Now, here's why. So as we look at the radar depiction over the coming 6 hours or so, again, there's Richmond in the middle part of the screen, and we'll advance this a little bit of a time. Remember, the greens are the lighter rain, and the oranges, the reds, the yellow, that's where the heavier rain is. So Richmond's there, and then we go forward about an hour. You don't see that the stuff is moving very fast. Take forward another hour. It does whittle down a little bit, but there's still going to be rain around from Richmond and especially southward from there into Dinwiddie County, into Chesterfield County as well. Then towards later on in the evening, it really tones down. So once we get past about 8 or 9 o'clock, the heavier or flooding type rain threat is going to be gone. Then it's just a question of watching what's left over running into the streams and creeks. So we think the biggest flood threat is from now until about 9 or 10 o'clock. The flooding threat doesn't end until about an hour or two after the rain stops. That's when the rain, or the rivers will crest, or not so much the rivers, not the James, but these smaller streams and creeks. Fallen Creek, Swift Creek, Powhite Creek, that's when they will crest and then begin to fade much later on into the night. So it's this time between now, about 8 or 9 o'clock, that you need to be most mindful of these smaller streams and creeks, which can come out of their banks. That's the biggest threat we are facing over these next several hours or so. I'm going to go through and just check to see if there's anything new coming down on the wire. Some road closures now. We're getting some more reports of road closures. Let's see if we can expand on that a little bit. Mostly downtown. Road closures and flooding in the city and downtown right now. So look, if you don't have to go anywhere, stay put. That's really the easiest thing to do. It's going to be a night where there's going to be a lot of water around for several hours before late into the night and the water does recede. Again, I want to emphasize, if you've just kind of joined the stream here over the last 2-3 minutes, even if you've got a little break in the rain right now, which we'll zoom in into Richmond right there. So there's the city limits kind of outlined in black. So here's Midlothian, and this yellow line is Route 60, Midlothian Turnpike. This one here, Hull Street Road, 360. We'll kind of center Chesterfield County in right now. So not as much really in Chester, down to Matoaka, Ettrick, Colonial Heights. But you look upstream, just across the Appomattox River, the next wave is coming in from Amelia as we speak. So if you've got something you want to do outside, run out and do it in Chesterfield County, because you've got more rain on top of you very, very soon. Having said that, there's also a lot of cloud to ground lightning. Most of us aren't running around outside in the middle of a thunderstorm, but do be mindful that lightning can strike up to 10 miles away from the center of a storm. So you don't want to be outside during a thunderstorm either, which is, kind of intuitive at this point. So the threats going forward, these next 4 to 5 hours or so, flooding rain, frequent cloud to ground lightning. Again, maybe some tree damage, but the wind damage we think is very, very sporadic. Flooding is going to be much more of a threat between now, about 8 or 9 o'clock into the evening. As we look farther upstream from this next wave of rain that's coming in from Nottoway, Amelia, and up toward Cumberland County, you do see a lot more of a break out toward Keysville, Highway 15. This stuff we see northward from Lynchburg, going up to Fork Union, Fluvanna County, Louisa County. That's probably not going to affect us so much in the immediate metro area of Richmond. The next hour, 90 minutes or so, this is what we're most concerned about. This mess right here from Fork Union extending down to Blackstone, that's going to push through here very slowly. 60, 90 minutes or so. Don't get caught into that. Stay put if you can, Wait for the waters to recede. You don't want to be stuck out there. And again, because it's now 20 minutes to 6, we still have daylight for another hour and a half. What's worse is once the sun goes down, you don't want to be messing with this water because it's going to continue to rise until about 10:30. And then once the rainfall is genuinely all done, the waters will tend to recede. So again, if you live near a stream or creek, your development has a little stream or creek running through it, your apartment building is near a stream or creek, keep an eye on it. As if it begins to rise more quickly, head out for a little while because we're not sure just how fast that water is going to come out. We've already had a good 1 to 2 inches of rain across Chesterfield County and a lot of South Richmond, all right? And another batch is coming that's probably at least another half inch, if not full inch as well. But that's the area right here in Chesterfield County along 360 that's gotten the worst of the rain or the heaviest of rain over these last 90 minutes or so. One more time, we'll go through this and then close up. Flash flood watch for all of Central Virginia until midnight. The watch means conditions remain favorable for flooding until midnight. The warning is ongoing until 8 p.m., which is obvious because the warning means it's already on top of you. But even areas up to Tappahannock, which have not got it really bad so far, have the potential for some flash flooding until midnight tonight. That area you see encircled from Richmond down to Chesterfield County. Again, Midlothian Turnpike, Hull Street Road, 360. That's where it's at its worst right now. Poway Parkway, Chippenham. Those are locations you probably don't want a big part of for at least another hour or 2 hours or so until the rain legitimately slows down and comes to a close. So if you don't have to go out and drive through that stuff, don't do it. Again, we encourage you to not drive into areas where water covers the road. As we move the radar forward, the projections of radar towards 6:30, there is still rain around from Dinwiddie up into the city and ultimately through 7:30 or 8:30. So it's going to be some time before this truly winds down for the night. That's why we encourage you to kind of just stay where you are if you can. And if you do drive, just be careful and don't drive in those areas where the water covers the road. If you live near a stream or creek, keep an eye on it because once we get past about 9 or 10 o'clock, the rainfall itself will wind down, but the waters will probably still be high until first thing in the morning. Again, for the Richmond Times-Dispatch, I'm meteorologist Sean Sublett. Be safe out there. Do look for the rain to continue toning down in the coming 4 to 5 hours or so. Heaviest of rain and flooding through Chesterfield County and South Richmond until that time. Be safe, stay as dry as you can, and we will talk to you soon.